Yeah, the source. It is now time for In the Garden with Caroline. Caroline Baldwin, we got her in the studio. Good morning, girl. How you doing?
Good morning. Real good. Real good.
Too bad.
You doing good?
I'm doing good. It's been a just beautiful morning here. Amongst all the rain and everything, there was obviously a lot of moisture still in the air, but it was, it's 73 degrees. It's cool. I actually really enjoy summer mornings in Florida. It's like refreshing. It's crisp. It's got a feel to it. It's so unique.
I mean, most of the mornings I wouldn't say are crisp, but
not
like
crisp,
this morning, this morning was a little better. I think yesterday was a little oppressive.
Yeah.
This morning the sun is out already, so it was a little bit it felt cooler. I believe they still said humidity was 100%.
That's what they say, but it's funny because it never really I read that in the morning. It's hard to tell. It's like 100%.
Some days I'm going at work, wow, you could cut it with a knife.
Yeah.
And I look on my phone, I'm going, wow, they're only saying humidity is 63%. And I'm going, whoa, and must be it coming up out of the concrete.
Or something, right? And then there's days where it's like, I think it was a little bit this morning. I was like, oh, it's not bad. It's humid. It's there.
It's 74 degrees and 100% humidity, but it's all right. I can deal with this.
But we just read a little bit before having you come on there that a little bit with weather, but I thought it was a little fascinating amongst keeping our head on a swivel, getting into these more summer months as things are heating up and everything else. We had a lot of precipitation here just recently, and a little bit it was kind of some low pressure that kind of moved its way over the Gulf through the panhandle that we got yesterday. They're expecting some of that to linger for the afternoon thunderstorms for today and into tomorrow. But they were discussing a little bit about how if what come through yesterday starts to develop in the Atlantic, it'll be the earliest we ever got to an E-named storm.
Oh, interesting. That's that one. That's that system that's up over Atlanta right now that they're thinking is going to come out into the Atlantic.
Right.
Possible formation, but that's like a 40%.
F storm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
F storm.
F?
It would be the earliest F storm. Which, what's fascinating about it is the meteorologist said that we're not seeing all this stuff develop from tropical.
No.
It's actually happening because of the cold fronts that are still kind of making their way through.
But you see that some of these have actually even been north.
Yeah.
They haven't, they formed out what was one out near Bermuda, and this one coming out off of the Carolinas, and that the Atlantic is warm enough, even that far north, the inshore Atlantic is warm enough.
And warm enough that with these fronts that come through that kind of make the air more unstable, they drop some of the pressure, and that little bit of low pressure here and there kind of mixes with it. So what they're saying is keep your head on a swivel. We're not sure what that's going to mean come August. They're saying, but for the rest of July, it should be fairly mild.
Is our usual. And I mean, you end up with some tropical things. And our normal serious hurricane season is that September.
Right.
That maybe in August, that September into possibly early October is that, I don't know, you say 4 to 6 weeks.
And I got this feeling. I was reading before that about the idea of the mandated order within the state of Florida to get kids back to school in August.
Yeah.
I've got this feeling. I feel like if I'm a betting man, I've got this feeling that I could probably bet that the week that they're going to go back to school is probably going to be a hurricane where they're going to have to cancel.
Have to take a couple of days off.
They're going to take a week off of school. You watch. Hey,
school hurricane days are usually one day.
Yeah.
It's like a snow day up north. You get that initial blow of it, and then it's like, okay, get back here, because it just wasn't safe to put you on today.
Well, it depends on the category of the storm and how close and nearby and stuff. So we'll see. But nonetheless, I think that's why I wanted to read it. Not only is it weather and it's fascinating. Galen's turning it off right now, but at the same time, it's to the conversation that it's as Floridians, we're going to be prepared if we're thinking about it, if we're having the conversation about it.
We've had some weird weather this year. We've had the Sahara dust that prevented rain and made it god-awfully hot.
Yeah, that made it dry.
It made it dry. Even though we didn't have that high humidity, it was brutal.
Yeah.
I mean, we're having, and they've been saying we've been having heat indices of 101 to 103 the last couple weeks, and I'm going, I was at work outside, the heat of the day, you couldn't tell me it was 101. No. It was 98 heat index.
Yeah.
I don't think it depends on where you're at.
Sure.
But I mean, I'm sitting on concrete with building around with plant material.
Yeah.
Wet floors, everything. You would think that just that humidity comes up. I mean, there's times when it's hot, it rains, and it's going, oh, gee, no. Get ready for the sauna. But it's been okay. I mean, for us, we need the rain. I am so grateful for it. We're getting, some of them have been some heavy showers, some severe thunderstorms. I mean, shoot, my power flashed off and on twice yesterday morning. It's like, really? And it figures it flashed just about the time I was, the washer was crooked. And I bumped the washer, and it's just like, meh, and I went,
What'd you do?
I didn't do that, did I? I looked back there, all the cords plugged in, it looks fine. Power came back, and okay, it wasn't me. I'm not touching the dryer. The dryer can sit there a little bit, be a little crooked.
Yeah, there was there was a little bit, even I know the week before, of like more severe storms with a lot of hail and everything too.
Yeah, a lot of hail.
And from what I've seen, a little bit, as much as the Sahara dust kept it a little bit more dry and kind of knocked off the top of a lot of upper development,
right.
It also allowed more particles in the air for a lot more stuff to cling to once it becomes super saturated.
Right.
So once that happened, it actually developed more and had more sustenance to it, which is why it ended up hailing and being a little bit more severe.
And temperatures way up above,
right.
So much cooler,
right.
or colder actually, that caused that hail formation, and that the hail survived and came down in the sizes it did.
At one point, this was about a week and a half ago when I got my hair cut, I was coming out and I had just gotten in the car just as it was sweeping through.
That's right. You were not my windshield, please.
And I was driving, and it got really bad visibility, so I pulled into the parking lot there of the movie theater there near Earsey Street, and there's nobody in the parking lot, right, because the movie theater's closed, but the visibility was so bad, I'm like, I'm just going to stay here for a little bit. And then it started hailing. I was like, I'm going to go under a tree. So I had to go under a tree because it was almost dime size. Yeah. But that's just part of it, and overall.
And that's summer storms. I think even I recall them as a kid up north in July and August having the hail. It's like you're caught out in it, and you're running like the dickens just to get home because they hurt. But out in the yard, the hail's not really hurting much. I mean, it can hurt some plants. It can do because it goes through them.
Right.
The plant. Gentle leaves are not sturdy enough to to take those ice balls falling and hitting them, but in a whole it's not killing them.
Right.
It's it does damage. I mean, we don't live in areas where we're blanketed in the hail, like in some of the farm communities in northern states or midwestern states where they get the serious damage from it, where it just beats the plant material right to the ground.
Like Texas.
Yeah, Texas, Oklahoma, places like that.
I was having a conversation with somebody the other day, still just and for the listeners out there, we'll get away from weather here in a little bit.
We'll bring this into plants. We'll bring it.
But we were talking about it. And, Dallas-Fort Worth area is probably one of the most awful places in the country for weather because it's the one place that it can get over 100 during the summer. Right. But then during the winter, it could get really, really cold and snow. And then not only that, some of the thunderstorms that rip through there, from where they develop to where they come through is right through with that town.
Right.
And they get some awful hail, wind, microbursts, just all kinds of stuff.
The whole works,
And we were discussing that. There was another pilot friend of mine who's flown in there multiple times, and he's just like, the weather there is awful because it can get really, really, like right now it's fairly warm and really hot.
Right.
So it's like one extreme to the other, to the other, to the other.
Right.
Like four different extremes.
Let's have it all in one day. Now our winters are kind of like that. We have all four seasons at the same time.
Right.
Get up with your coat on, and then it warms up. Take the jacket off. It's you're sunbathing at lunch, but it might rain something else, and then you're back into the cold weather.
Yeah, we do got a caller. Good morning, WOCA. You're in the garden with Caroline Baldwin. Good morning.
Good morning, guys.
Morning.
Hey, Hugh. How you doing today, partner?
Well, I'm waiting for the next little thunderstorm coming through here. You can almost set your clock by it, usually around 1:30, 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
For the last 5 days, if I get 2/10 today, I'll be at the 5-inch level. So we got plenty of water in the ground.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that is one good thing. We've had it consistent, and with how much rain we had just through the weekend, like
Right.
I thought it was kind of nice just to kind of relax. There was like
just,
July
yeah.
4th, it was a nice excuse to just kind
To
of for the
chill.
demeanor that the holiday was with not having the big
Not
public
being able
events,
to go to the
not being
events,
able to go,
right, that if you're sitting home and
cookouts,
cooking out.
we just relaxed, and just had
Yeah.
it.
Most of the storms here have been just heavy rain. I mean, really heavy rain and a little wind. But the day before yesterday, we had a more violent type of storm, and we lost our power here for over 2 hours.
Oh wow!
And,
I didn't know that.
but for the most part, the storms, other than heavy rain, haven't been that bad.
Right. Yeah, and actually, the other week I lost power for about 3.5 hours, but it was because some large limbs took out the lines
Oh,
in
they
the
took it
neighborhood.
out, so they had to do a lot
they had
more
to
work.
come. Yeah, and when they came back on, because
Yeah.
it was midnight, it scared the daylights out of me because everything in the house came back on, all at the same time.
What's that movie where all the
Our
cars
neighbors-
and appliances come to life?
What's that?
Yeah. See, our new neighbors down the block, I mentioned it last week. 2 weeks ago, they had sod laid, and son of a gun, he cut his lawn Friday. And,
Right, yeah,
and
'cause
when
you were
walk
worried
by
it was so dry.
It doesn't look like sod anymore. It looks beautiful.
Yeah, that you're right. You were telling me, that they had put the sod down, and then we didn't get rain for a whole week.
For a whole week.
And it was a little iffy, but then we started to get some rain, and
Yeah, that
and
probably
that's
helped
what
him out immensely.
Oh, yeah.
It
So-
looks good now, partner. You're saying it looks real good, his lawn?
That lawn really settled down. It looks like it doesn't even look like it was ever sod. It looks it looks beautiful, like it's been there for years.
Well, fantastic.
Good for him,
So
yeah.
it worked out for him this year. Good time of year to put that down.
Because just to remind the listeners, you're talking about was it almost an acre that he had covered in sod?
Yeah.
And that's a lot.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
was And I mean, even though it was a Bahia sod, it still cost you money.
Yeah.
It's still not free.
Did we off air? Did we figure out the price? Because we were talking about how much sod that would be.
Because I wasn't sure
Yeah.
what the price would be per piece on that.
Right.
Yeah.
When I get a little more familiar with him, I'm going to ask him what it costs for him to have that.
Just out of curiosity.
Just out of curiosity, it's going to have to be in the thousands of dollars, right?
I would think I don't know if I mean, even if you do a guesstimate, even if you said it was $1 a piece on the pieces of sod, and it was a 300 piece pallet, that's 400 square feet. You still are going 40,000 square feet
Yeah.
to do. A lawn. I mean, it might be that buying that much, it comes down to 25 or 50. I don't know, 50 cents a sheet on it. Yeah, I'm not for sure. But even then, because you paid for someone to install it,
that's true.
You're
That's
still
true.
looking probably back at that $1 or more a piece for to put that down.
Yeah.
But-
I know this was Bahia grass.
Right.
I was just wondering if it would have been St. Augustine, would that have developed that quickly?
You would have had to have had an irrigation system to put St. Augustine in.
Yeah.
It's a waste of your time and money to install St. Augustine
Without
or a
an
zoysia lawn
irrigation.
without an irrigation system.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, in other words, if you live in the city and you buy water from the city,
Mm-hmm.
you better not have St. Augustine.
Well, I mean, you can. You just have to learn how to properly maintain, and you're not running your sprinklers all the time. You run it this time of year. You're allowed to run your sprinklers twice a week. You don't need to. But so you're not putting that water out, paying for that water. Once the clocks change again, that 1st of November kind of thing, you're back down to one time a week on watering, and we're coming into that time of year where you only need water every 7 to 10 days because you're going to, it's going into a dormancy. So watering properly, and a lot of times in those months, we still get rain maybe once a week or every 10 days. So you're, in a way, you're supplementing that. So, paying attention to what you need, but really to install a St. Augustine lawn, you really need to have that irrigation system in.
Now,
Your Bahia grass, like in the wintertime when you get a frost or a freeze, it browns out.
Mm-hmm.
the St. Augustine kind of its color?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It goes dormant. We get the bad cold spells, and you look around, and it's brown lawns. That's where a lot of times people will overseed with the winter rye, just to keep that green grass. Plus, maybe they like to mow. But yeah, all of our grasses. I mean, the bahia, we get a dry spell. Your bahia will turn brown. It rains, it's green.
Yeah, instantaneously.
It's one that is a very low maintenance. You can bring your maintenance level up if you want and really have a little more lush yard, but you don't need to. It will continue to look. It'll be okay without going to those extremes. Your St. Augustines and stuff, you can even take those down a notch. You don't have to be that high maintenance lawn and still keep it so long as you're mowing properly and fertilizing properly and watering properly. That's the whole thing is get on being on a routine, having the correct fertilizer, putting it down at the right time, not worrying quite so much about having too many weeds, because usually the lawn, a well-maintained lawn, will choke out most weeds.
Yeah.
And that you just need to go back and maybe be selective on how you're taking care of a few weeds.
With the St. Augustine, like in the wintertime, with the dry season, would you have to water it more in the winter than you do in the summer?
You would, but you realize it's going into a semi-dormancy. It's not growing as much because the temperatures are cooler. The days are shorter, just like your bahia lawns. It goes into a semi-dormancy, so you're still only watering about every 7 to 10 days. In the wintertime. So dropping down to that one time a week, you're going to put your 3/4 of an inch of water down at that time to let those roots be deep down into the soil, and that way it survives the drier times. And many times in the winter, we do get that rain once a week, once every 2 weeks, so that supplements as well.
Yeah. Well, anyways, on this side of town, everybody's cutting their lawn twice a week now.
Oh, at least I'm sure, and you have to. And this morning would have been a good day. See, yesterday where I live, I had rain by 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
It was, it was not a good. I mean, I guess it would have been a good morning to get out there real fast and mow before it came in. Today the grass is a little drier here in the morning, so a little better on the cut on it, because we try not to mow it when it's wet.
Yeah, because
it clumps up and clogs up the mower.
Getting
and
up
everything
early yesterday,
else,
it was wet for a lot longer, and then it rained earlier, so you had a very small window. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's our biggest thing is keeping it maintained now.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to complain about having it cut twice a week, because I'm just glad we're getting the water. I don't like that when it gets too dry around here, especially being up against the forest with the brush and forest fires. That's really, I hate the time of the year, usually April and May, when we have that problem. But
very dry time.
We're not going to have it now.
No, we're into our rainy season, so that's a good thing. I mean, we are much safer. We still have to be careful with, if anybody lives in certain areas in the county where you're allowed to burn that brush that comes off the, out of the yard and things like that.
Yeah.
Don't burn anywhere near the house. Be careful with your charcoal grills and things like that you're, waiting till that's dry. I think there was a report on the news that after the 4th of July, somebody's house caught fire because somebody put the spent fireworks into a waste can, into a garbage can.
Yeah.
And got catch on fire, burn the house down. Come on, little common sense. Make sure that those fires are out before you retire for the evening. Don't dump that charcoal out, against the tree trunk before you go to bed. Wait a day. Get a metal can, get an ash bucket.
Yep.
And do it that way. Not a plastic bucket, a metal one.
What is with all this water we're getting for our lawns? Is it a situation where we might be getting too much water, and would it be better to maybe cut the grass shorter now that it's raining so much?
No. Never take the grass shorter. No, always mow at the recommended height, because otherwise you're exposing that root system to the atmosphere. You don't want to you encourage weeds to come in. Just if you have to mow more often, you have to mow more often. Just keep it.
That just makes me think
regular.
this time up north, you'd always come across, because my dad did a lot of landscaping for years and had a few lawns that he mowed. And I'm just thinking of every time we crossed a house or a lawn where you could tell the guy's out there, he's like, I'm just going to do this once
a week.
Once every 2 weeks.
The dirt popping up. And
it's just dust flying because it's so short.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, well, take care and stay dry.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, thanks, partner.
Thank you.
Awesome. And as we're coming here just about a minute to go, one thing I wanted to ask you with that gentleman's lawn, from this point on, one of the things I want to talk about when we come back from break is what that means at this point for him.
The newly installed.
Yeah, so the newly installed, which he says probably Bahia, right?
Yeah, it's Bahia, and it's been a few weeks now.
Yeah,
so
I'm curious of what he could see for the next coming months into the change of the season and stuff. So we'll talk a little bit about that.
We'll go with that.
And then just to talk too a little bit about since Hugh got it going there, I've got it pulled up here of some of the differences that we'll talk about between the grasses, because a lot of people. Well, for example, my dad and everything, where they're at in their development over in Pensacola, it's there's a lot of centipede over there, a lot. Yeah. And then in other parts, if you just go 20 minutes and cross the Alabama border, then you have a lot of Bermuda, which is actually really common in South Alabama, which a lot of people don't think about. But then that comes back to where the zoysia, the Bahia. So we'll talk a little bit about that and stuff too when we come back. But you're listening to AM Ocala Live with In the Garden with Carol Ann Baldwin, as we're going to keep this Tuesday show rolling. National news up next. We'll be back right after this. WOCA, The Source. WOCA Ocala.
Foster. President Trump holds a meeting at the White House today about reopening schools closed because of the coronavirus outbreak.
State and local school officials are still preparing to make decisions about school calendars. The president says schools must open in the fall. He accused Joe Biden of not wanting to open schools for political reasons.
Fox's Jared Halpern. Biden on his website is in fact calling for schools to reopen, taking safety measures. A Christopher Columbus statue is recovered in pieces from Baltimore's Inner Harbor. Police didn't stop it from being torn down.
In a statement from Commissioner Michael Harrison, he said a small number of officers were assigned to assist with the peaceful protests taking place in the downtown area. As the number of protesters grew, it was tactically unsafe for those few officers to position themselves between the protesters and the Christopher Columbus statue.
Maxine Stryker with Fox 45 Baltimore. America's listening to Fox News.
The following is a true story.
I had a lady that was in her mid-70s, and I'd sold her timeshare, and that was the lowest I'd ever felt in my life. I knew then that I had to do something to simply not to go to hell for selling timeshare.
Chuck McDowell founded Wesley Financial Group to help folks cancel their timeshares permanently.
Called her and everybody that I'd sold timeshare to, and I said, this is what I said to you that was a lie, and this is what you need to do to cancel your timeshare. From that point, people started referring friends to me to help them cancel a timeshare. And that's how it all started. I fought the world's largest timeshare company in federal court. If I had lost that lawsuit, there would be no one helping people that have been lied to when they bought timeshare. If we take you as a client, we will cancel your timeshare or we'll give your money back. That's what makes us different.
Call Wesley Financial Group now for a free information kit. 800-660-1771. That's 800-660-1771. 800-660-1771.
News. Casting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Gene Powell Pasture Mowing, 352-629-2440. In addition to our pasture mowing and tractor services, including zero-turn mowers for your fence line finish, we also offer rototilling and fence row spraying. We are family-owned and operated, licensed and insured, and farm-ready. Powell Gene, Gene, at yahoo.com. 352-629-2440. Gene Powell Pasture Mowing, 352-629-2440. Gene is a proud United States veteran.
No doubt about it. The crepe myrtles are absolutely gorgeous this year, and if you don't have yours yet, now's the time. The place is Bob Wine's Camellia Gardens. Bob has crepe myrtles, hundreds of them, starting with a super buy on the good-looking white crepe myrtles at just $6.99 each, going all the way up to the huge 8 and 10-foot exotics at $2.99. Plus, you buy one, get one free, delivered, planted, and guaranteed. Check out the big new BOGO this week on fruit trees: peach, pear, mulberry, chestnut, dragon fruit, and banana, $59.95 each, and you get one free every time you buy one. Citrus trees start at just $59.99 too. So don't wait. Check us out, BobWinesCameliaGardens.net, and get on over to Bob Wine's Camellia Gardens, Southeast 38th Street, Ocala, in the same blooming place since 1952.
We are proud to announce the Conservative Watch Hour on WOCA 96.3 FM and 1370 AM every Friday at 11 a.m. Hosted by Annie Marie Delgado, president of Trump Team 2020 Florida, and her co-host Ann Vandersteel with SteelTruth.com. We are serving a higher level of excellence, and we are the only program of this type in this market. Don't miss your weekly dose of conservative talk radio. WOCA 11 a.m. Fridays, 96.3 and 1370 a.m.
Pals Ocala Auto Repair fixes all makes and models. Pals makes sure that your vehicle's engine, mechanical, and electrical components are healthy at all times. Pals team would much rather see you drive to their shop for a full checkup than be towed in for a complex repair. Give Pals a call today to schedule your next service appointment. 352-414-2984. What? A nationwide warranty, 36 months or 36,000 miles, whichever comes first? Pals looks forward to servicing you and servicing your vehicle. 352-414-2984.
Why call two men in a truck? If you're like most people, you're moving and you work hard. You've got lots of stuff and no time to move it. You need pros, trained, professional moving experts to do the heavy lifting for you. A team who will work hard and get the job done right. People who care about your things as much as you do. Time is of the essence, and you want it done fast. That's why you call Two Men in a Truck, the movers who care. Visit twomeninatruck.com today and get moving, or call 352-289-0666.
2 Men in a Truck.
Oh, hey, Grandpa.
Oh, hey, Grandpa. Hey, Grandpa.
Yes, buddy?
Can you take me fishing this weekend?
I'd love to.
Have you noticed a change in your hearing over the years? Missing the little things in life? Visit Beneficial Hearing in Ocala today. Their expert team of audiologists will make sure you never miss a moment. Call Beneficial Hearing today at 352-629-4418 or visit them online, beneficialhearing.com.
Today, mostly cloudy and humid with a shower or thunderstorm around for the afternoon. High 89 to 93. Partly cloudy for the night, low 73 to 75. Sun and clouds for tomorrow. A thunderstorm in spots in the afternoon. Wednesday's high 90 to 93. Then Thursday, mostly cloudy with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm. High 90 to 94. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm Kevin Snyder.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Bringing advice
And you're listening to AIM Ocala Live as we're back now with In the Garden with Carol Ann Baldwin. As we were just wrapping up there before the bottom of the 9 o'clock hour, just the mention of, Hugh's neighbor that had quite a bit of sod put in, like Bahia, that he said was about an acre.
Yeah.
Which is a lot.
That's a lot of grass.
And he was worried. He was worried to the expectation of maybe it running dry and not being worth it.
Because we'd had
because it was dry.
that couple of weeks of very, very dry and very, very hot weather.
Very hot.
Very
So
hot and
it made you wonder, maybe in between that time, because I think the question was 2 weeks ago from Hugh, is like, how do they go about keeping that sustainable? How do you water that? You got to water that.
Because there is no irrigation system, and on a piece of property that large, trying to drag a hose around and the sprinkler.
And I think he said there wasn't much shade either. That was pretty wide open. Right,
there was a big full sun wide open, but because we got the rain,
now it's popping.
Took off. Yeah, it took
now,
off and did.
With that comes along the conversation, and I think maybe for some of the listeners there, as much as we've mentioned a lot about lawns, you hear us mention Bahia, you hear us mention St. Augustine, maybe some Bermuda, but right now we found a good area where we can kind of compare and contrast between Bermuda, Bahia, the Centipede, St. Augustine, and Zoysia, as these are the common types of lawns that we would find in the South, and especially here in Florida.
Right.
And from that, I think everybody that I knew up north assumed that Florida, they just assumed Bermuda.
And that's tough because Bermuda is the least recommended grass for Florida. It is not a Florida turf.
That's why I wanted to bring that up, because there's a misconception there, and we've said that on the show multiple times, that because a lot of people also come down here thinking like, oh yeah, Bermuda.
You're gonna have fabulous lawns in Florida because
like you're gonna have
it's sunny, it's warm, we get rain, it's hot. You're just gonna have these gorgeous, wonderful. I can walk barefoot in the grass.
Right, I'm gonna walk barefoot. I can putt on it. Like if it's a golf course, like my front yard will be a golf green, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But no, now they say out of all of the common grass types in the South, Bermuda is the most common. Get this, in Alabama they mention, as it thrives in the hot southern summers and can withstand the chilly winter. And in fact, it says some varieties of Bermuda grow in slightly more northern climates, as the grass durable and verdant texture makes it suitable for several different lawns, from the golf course turf to your own backyard. However, with the idea of what it takes to maintain that in your backyard is why we're saying that it's not necessarily
and like
the best.
It says, resistant to drought. Okay, drought resistance, we've always plugged that is something needed for us. We don't usually have big issues with drought. We do have drier times. So in a Bermuda, if you didn't have an irrigation system, it would be okay during that drier time. It can be cut short, repairs quickly from damages. But when and of course, like we said, this is actually out of it just says for the South. One thing we've always said, and the university says, Florida's not a southern state.
That's right.
Florida is Florida. I mean, I know we have Georgia right above us, up above Jacksonville, and we have Alabama right there. You know, you got L.A., you got the Panhandles, L.A., Lower Alabama, and then you got the Alabama section. But even still, you know, some of those conditions, because just the Panhandle itself is a little different growing conditions than once you get a little further. You get south of Perry. And you're coming into the true, what I would say, Florida conditions. I mean, on Jacksonville and that, you still got those Florida conditions, so it can get quite cold up there. For us.
Very, very quite cold.
In relativity.
Quite cold and more often too. And then that's I think that's what you're trying to disseminate is the idea that a lot of people assume that like, oh, Florida, southern state, we're subtropical.
That's it. Yeah, we're
different.
Right. We're not tropical. Till you get south of Orlando, then you get into that tropics, more tropical areas. We are not the Bahamas. We're not tropical.
Right.
We're not the Caribbean. We're not tropical. Till you get quite a bit south. We are subtropical to where we have a little bit of temperate. We do have more of the change of the seasons, but we do also have what I call the monsoon season.
Yeah.
Usually that first week of June through first part of September, we get excessive rain. And then our rain chances begin to drop, but our hurricane season during that time is our most active.
Right.
So, and
Which
when
can bring a lot of
When we get rain, we don't get a lot of times just a quarter inch of rain. We'll get 3 and 4. We get frog stranglers.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's,
I love that, Sarah. I've heard that before. Yeah,
and I tell customers very frequently, the reason we don't put these items down with the expectation of rain is you don't know if you will just get a light rain, which would be perfect to activate those products, or do you get a frog stranglers that either just pushes it right through, or down the storm drain,
washes
or
it
to
out
your
completely.
neighbors.
Yeah.
I mean, even here, I had Master Gardener friend who had done that. Put his weed and feed down on his lawn. It rained a good rain, and his neighbor's yard was weed free all summer. And he officially really could not redo what he did because he put it down.
Yeah.
So this is another reason why we don't do these kind of maintenance issues in our summer months. We don't put the fertilizers down. We don't put the weed and feeds down. The weed and feed, it's too hot.
Yeah.
Is another reason. It's 90 plus degrees. Read the bag.
Yeah.
You know, and that is my mantra, read and follow label directions. It will get you through, you know, many things and save you a lot of money and cause you heartache in the long run. You can nourish the lawn. There's parts of this state you can't buy a weed and feed. You can't buy a bag of 666. It is illegal for you to purchase and put it down in your lawn. And that's to protect our water.
Absolutely.
You know,
Because
and
just from those frog strangling rains,
we've
washing
not mandated it statewide. There hasn't been a lot of talk this year, but I think that's just because of everything else that's going on. But expect to hear it again, and I would not be surprised if we don't see a more of a statewide mandate of preventing the use of turf fertilizers, lawn fertilizers in our rainy season when we don't, you know, the grass is growing on its own all by itself. We don't need to feed it.
Right.
But you know, this time of year we can have those fungus issues and the insect pests. Proper care helps to prevent it. Not fully, because the rain, you can't do anything about that. But you can do preventatives on those. And yes, those are done. But again, look at the weather report. I mean, when was it? Was that the 80s? They came out with this whole channel. All they do 24 hours a day is the weather.
Yep.
You know, you can look at your phone. You know, you don't have to take it off the wall and look. You know, you look at your phone. You can get what the weather's going to be for the next 24 to 48 hours.
Yeah.
That's how you want to put down any product you need to use.
Right.
Otherwise, again, waste of time, waste of money. Why go out and spend $18 and an hour and a half of your time to go out there and put your fungicide down and have it pour? It's ineffective. You know, either you deal with it or you don't.
Now, one of the other what it brings up next, it says Bahia. Bahia is an all-purpose grass type. Its rugged nature makes it especially useful for pastures. Bahia grass is good for lawns due to its durability. It grows in height quickly, and owners of Bahia lawns may need to mow it several times a week, as compared to other grass types in the South. And some other characteristics of this grass include the following: as again, a little bit more resistant to drought, as it'll hold up because, like we said, if it's dry, it'll turn a little bit brown, but if it rains, it's immediately green.
Back up.
Establishes slowly.
Slowly, but I mean, for us, again, you've stepped across the border and you've changed things. They're saying 3 to 4 months. I'm saying 30 days to 60 days.
Yeah.
You know,
I can see that.
With pretty much any of our turf.
It says competes well with weeds due to the thick growth and grows a coarse texture. So, like you said,
it's not going to be a soft grass to walk on, but it's a great grass. They use it by the highways. They can let that stuff grow, and you see how they do, and you start looking at it, and you go, God, that looks so horrible. But that's also to slow a car down. when it comes off the road. I don't know if anybody realizes
Interesting.
that is
Interesting.
one I believe, and I believe somebody told me this, DOT or somebody, that is why grasses and things like that are allowed to grow thickly, is that if you come off the road, that's going to help to slow that vehicle down.
Interesting, because that is the way it grows. It's going to catch it. If you think of some of the other ones, like let's say you tried to grow something that's a little bit short, it would slide across the grass.
It's just going to
like we see NASCAR do at the Daytona 500.
Right. Yeah, when they come across some of the green areas and they're just going sideways.
Yeah.
This is going to help this. It's going to stop that sideways momentum. So if you're thinking on it on that, when we mow our lawns, we of course are keeping that much shorter. But I think too, I mean, they don't have it down here as helping with erosion. But I think it does with erosion as well. I think it's got a dense enough root system that it holds down. They've got actually the zoysia as a good control for erosion,
for the erosion.
But I think again that's a short grass.
Yeah.
And it can get carpet dense. It's actually a very nice grass once you can get it established. They're not showing the establishment. See, because for zoysia again in this state. It can be slow to establish and slow to recover from injury.
That's what I've heard too.
If it does, even though it says resistant to disease and pest, there's a couple diseases that can bother it. Not a lot of pest issues for it, but should a problem happen to it, it's going to take longer for it to recover.
Yeah.
So it's the first one usually that goes brown in the wintertime and the last one to come back in the spring.
Oh, is that right? Yeah.
So but once you get that well established, it's a good grass. It's a nice turf grass.
Good. We got a caller. Good morning. You're in the garden with Carol Ann. Carol Ann Baldwin.
Hey, Sonny.
Hi, good morning, Carol Ann.
Morning.
Adam.
How you doing, partner?
You mentioned the soya and all that, but I see there's a lot of different brands. One is Argentine, and the other, Bahia, Argentine Bahia.
Right.
There's some other kind of Bahia.
The Pensacola.
I think the Argentine Bahia, when it starts growing and gets established, looks more like regular grass. Mm-hmm. And then the other one you didn't mention at all was the centipede, but I don't know. I'm not a real fan of that. It sends out runners all over the place. But anyway, I'll hang up and listen to the rest of your program.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you very much, WOCA, for putting this Carol Ann on the air, and have a great day, everybody.
Thanks, Sonny.
You too.
Yeah, and you're right. With the Bahia, that's true. We do have two popular varieties for this area. The Argentine is the one that's a little more favorable as the seed heads, which many people can find unattractive because they are a little shorter.
Yeah.
So if you're mowing on a regular basis, you're probably not seeing too many of those. And the other would be the Pensacola.
Okay.
The Pensacola, I believe, is a finer leaf blade, which some people want that for the desirability, but I believe the seed heads are a little taller.
Yeah.
What they use on the side of the road, I'm not sure. It's probably more of the pasture varieties where it needs nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing. We mow it 4 times a year.
Yeah.
And the centipede, like you were saying, your dad's got it up in the Panhandle, and it is popular with some people. It's one of those very short grasses.
I'm not a fan of it. If you're going to ask me, I was never a fan of it. It's just one of those things. It doesn't feel great on your feet, and at the same time, as far as the dormancy of it, it feels like it's long to come back, and then it's not easily repaired either.
Okay, that one. And I was going to say, you're only going to find seed for it usually. I mean, maybe there are some sod growers that grow it in order to put down those large quantities, and it doesn't like fertilizer.
Exactly.
So if you're not going to encourage its growth by going out there and buying brand name turf builder fertilizer and throw it out there with its 29011.
You talking about a Scotsman brand?
Yeah,
Scotsman's?
that felt
Scotch.
That's Scotch. Scotch is good tape. No, good beverage. But yeah, I mean that's like the worst thing you can put on a centipede lawn is fertilizer. That's the kind of grass that you pretty much can ignore.
That's what they say. Very little maintenance with it, which makes it popular for the idea of not really having to do a whole lot with it.
Right, and
just get out there and cut it.
And you don't even
rains.
have to cut it that often because it's a short grass.
Yeah.
So it's one of those. And years ago, people used to mix, because you can't really mix anything with St. Augustine, but you could put the centipede in because we had centipede.
Yeah.
Problem is when you fertilize that centipede or use that St. Augustine, that centipede would yellow.
Yeah.
And you would see that it would recover. It would be a couple weeks that it would green back up.
But you'd see that
temporary,
spot.
You would have that yellowing through there because there's not seed for St. Augustine.
Yeah.
So if you have a bad patch in your St. Augustine, you get out the rake that stuff out. Find out was it insect caused, was it fungus caused? Take care of that. Then most of the time that St. Augustine will fix itself.
Okay.
Because it's got runners. But you can take and rake out that bad area, go get you some compost or cow manure or brand name lawn soil and throw that down, rake it in as if you were patching a thing in a hole in the wall. A little extra there in the bad spot, rake it into the good grass. Let it creep back over.
Yeah.
It'll take care of itself. You don't have to run it. Or you could go cut out a section, go get you a piece of sod, plop that in, fixed. It's all better now. It's all better now. But most of the rest of them, you do have some seeds, so you can come back through on an annual basis to thicken that yard up and just top dress a little bit.
Right,
with with a little bit of compost or there's a couple of people. I've been trying to find some stuff on any of the gardening Facebook pages that I belong to, and there's not been much. But I have had a couple questions. Well, what can I? I want to put down an organic fertilizer this time of year because I don't want to go buy that commercial high nitrogen stuff because it is raining. We're in the rainy season, not time to put it down. And you do have like the Florida Natural and the Milorganite, basically the same product. One comes from West Palm Beach. Other comes from Milwaukee. So they both cover the same square footage. And it's funny, you read the bag, and it's right on the front of the bag. In any other state but Florida, that bag's going to cover 5,000 square feet. In Florida, it's 2,500. Because even though it's a natural fertilizer, it has just enough nitrogen in it that they tell you it only covers half.
Interesting.
Of what it would be doing.
Yeah.
So
and that's
it's not double. It's
that's what a lot of people aren't going to know. That's the difference.
Right. So it's just just read the labels on them. But that right now it's trying to get people to go. Oh, they're going. Hey, where's your weed and feed? And it's like it's down there. It's too hot to put that down. And they just it's okay. I try to educate, but when they come back up to me and they go, which one should I get? And none of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, leave that stuff there and come over to this side and look at some of your iron products or your, that will green that yard up. We're getting enough rain that the lightning in that storm is going to green it.
The lightning, it kind of charges it back. The rain that we're getting over all the thunderstorms, the clippings from the mowers, because you're mowing it twice a week now. Absolutely,
maybe even 3 times a week.
This is the meat and potatoes. This is a sweet spot of the season for that grass.
Exactly,
I can see that.
And if you mow it frequently, you're only mowing small amounts off, and so they break down quick. You're not encouraging that thatch build up and things that people are concerned about. I know Sonny is one that aerates and has had his yard dethatched or vertical mowed, which I wouldn't do that too often to a lawn. But as a rejuvenation, maybe every few years kind of thing, you could pay somebody to come in and do something like that because it sure does beat your lawn up. But oh boy, afterwards, it's just a nice thick long. And St. Augustine is usually the one that we do that with, because you're not going to get seed to refurbish that lawn. So
here's a question for you, going back into it with the idea when you mentioned aeration, like I guess it was in this feeling of having such a sandy type soil that the water permeates so well. So when it comes to aeration, like, up north, it was always a big thing. We did it twice a year because you had permafrost, and then it would have to thaw, and then you'd come in the fall season.
The soils were richer up there. They
deep,
had more,
packed tight already because more of it's a clay base or something to that extent. But down here, the golf courses do it so often.
Because our soils can become hydrophobic.
That's
water
where it
runs off. Yeah,
okay.
The water. If you ever make a pile of sand and try to pour a watering can of water, and it's
gotcha.
So that's where watering deeply helps.
Okay.
And some other, and the aeration on a an annual, maybe twice a year basis isn't going to hurt anything.
Right.
And does help that if you are one that's on have a turf that needs fertilization, the 3 or 4 times a year. That fertilizer is going to work a little better.
Now with something like aeration, is there a certain amount of depth that you would need to go?
I think most of those aerators are just going a couple of inches. It's like 2 inches probably.
Yeah.
I don't think it's any.
Enough.
The spikes enough that. I've even heard of people. I don't know if golf shoes anymore actually have true spikes on them.
Yeah.
But they used to have more. You could get the little shoes that you could, if you wore them while you mowed. If you had a push mower, there you go. You're taking care of it on a weekly basis, or maybe you wear them once a month while you go out there, and that's great. Too.
Yeah, you're right. The golf shoes don't have those anymore.
No spikes,
most of every clubs have done away with the metal spikes,
right.
and they're all like the kind that when you step, it spreads. It's like a plastic, and it spreads.
It's more of a nubby. It's a nubby versus a spike.
And it's literally there to just catch the tops of the grass,
so that
way you're not tearing up a little bit
and
more.
when you don't slide when you have your swing.
Exactly, which is probably better overall because you'd have a course that's played quite a bit, and then it just with metal spikes would just
tear
especially
that
if it rained a little bit. But awesome. We just got about a minute and a half left. Anything you want to touch on before we go?
Throw one out there. Hey, listen, I've been pulling plants at the store where I work, and everybody knows it's down there at Lady Lake. And it's been big stuff I'm pulling.
Yeah.
So shrubbery and things like that have just, I'm checking dates. It's going, you've been here too long, and trying to clean up the garden center. Plant deliveries have been weird this year because of everything. Nurseries having been closed and that. And so I can't tell you what I got coming in, but I can, we can go through and help to figure out some stuff for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
Awesome. Well, there you go, folks. AM Ocala Live in the Garden with Carol Ann Baldwin. As we love having her here on Tuesdays. I know everybody likes the show.
Yep.
As we're making our way now to the top of the 10 o'clock hour, stay tuned. More Good Tuesday show of AM Ocala Live coming at you with Matt Gibbs, Sunrise Automotive Repair with personal care, coming up next right here on The Source. WOCA Ocala, back after this.
Nuclear program. Fox's Simon Owen reports Deputy Secretary of State Stephen Biegun is there.
South Korea's president is proposing a forced meeting between President Trump and North Korea's Kim Jong-un, suggesting that could happen before the US elections in November. But the North saying it has no intention of holding a face-to-face meeting.
America's listening to Fox News.
Do you have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-700-6898. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-700-6898. That's 800-700-6898 for $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Lou at 800-700-6898. 800-700-6898.
From the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
The quickest growing veggies for the impatient gardener. That's coming up on This Land of Ours.
You're going to need me.
You're going to need us.
All of us.
You're going to need our help with your water, your air, your food.
You're going to need our determination, our compassion.
You're going to need the next generation of leaders to face the challenges the future will bring.
And we promise we'll be there when you need us.
Today, 4-H is growing the next generation of leaders. Support us at 4h.org.
Can we bring it back, Doctor?
Yes, but we have to keep it covered, Igor.
Understood, Doctor.
And be sure to keep living roots in it throughout the year with diverse plants and rotations. And remember, do not disturb it.
Are you mad, Doctor?
No, just a little upset. I don't like to see soil treated like dirt.
Learn more about the basics and benefits of soil health. Contact your local USDA Natural Resources Conservation Service office today.
When starting an edible garden, it can be discouraging to wait for your homegrown bounty to be ready for harvest. Fortunately, there are a handful of veggies that will sprout up quickly in as little as 8 weeks, such as arugula. After planting the seeds, seedlings should start to emerge within 7 to 14 days. Bok choy is usually ready to harvest within 45 to 60 days. Broccoli rabe, about 50 to 60 days. Cress, a unique and popular microgreen, will germinate within a couple of days. Harvest as soon as leaves are about 2 inches in size. Kale is one of the most cold-tolerant plants on the list of fast-growing veggies. Spring-planted kale often takes a little bit longer to mature than kale grown in the late summer or early fall. Radishes would be great for kids' garden because they can be harvested in as little as 3 weeks after planting. Spinach grows quickly in cool weather and will be ready to harvest within 4 to 6 weeks. I'm Kathy Isom, Southeast AgNet.
Gene Powell Pasture Mowing, 352-629-2440. In addition to our pasture mowing and tractor services, including zero-turn mowers for your fence line finish, we also offer rototilling and fence row spraying. We are family-owned and operated, licensed and insured, and farm-ready. Powell Gene, Gene, @yahoo.com, 352-629-2440. Gene Powell Pasture Mowing, 352-629-2440. Gene is a proud United States veteran.
Today, mostly cloudy and humid with a shower or thunderstorm around for the afternoon. High 89 to 93. Partly cloudy for the night, low 73 to 75. Sun and clouds for tomorrow.